Hi there. Today is Saturday, June 18th, making this the week 24 Create Brilliance update with your hostess, Jennifer Vanderbeek of scrapsoflife.com. Hi, how y'all doing? Yeah, at some point today at work, I slipped into the hey y'all mode and it's still kind of hanging out in the background. Okay then. So yeah, how's your week been? You taking care of yourself? And are you showing the world your brilliance? Those are the two important questions. As for me, I have some good news and bad news. Bad news was our upstairs air conditioner was out this entire week. It went out Sunday evening. The good news is the repairman was finally able to get to us Friday mid morning and identified it as a blown capacitor, which was under warranty. So Friday night, we finally got to sleep in the nice, cool, air conditioned comfort of our bedroom instead of sleeping downstairs on the sofas where it was marginally cooler. So yeah, that was fun this week. And that has some bearing on things later in this update. Um I am well in general, tired, a little tired. But that's just because it's hot and I was at work today and I had a good time. But having a good time at work often means that I am oof, a little tired when I get but that's okay. I will get a second win, and I'm still, again, getting used to being back at work from when I was on vacation. What have I been working on this week? Well, since I'm talking about work, I am going quite well on the third section of the Hercule Poirot holiday um, haul. And in fact, I'm like 8 rows from finishing this lace section, and then I will have the border, the edging to do on the bottom. And so, really happy that this is coming along. And yeah, so it'll be nice to have another finished object. And then I can't remember when I cast this on, not really the right term, but when I started this project, I say it's not the right term because it's not knitting. I'm actually crocheting something and off the needle. But anyway, so this is the beginning. It kind of looks like a towel right now, but it's the beginning of a sweater. In crocheted, I believe this is seed stitch. This is the crochet version of seed stitch. Really pretty sage green, and it's from a recently purchased crocheted sweaters book, which I have set somewhere and I don't exactly know where that is. It's okay because I have to do 77 rows of this. And I think I'm at, let's see, 10, 20, or no, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 18, 20, 24, 26. Yeah, I'm like on row 27 or 28. So I got a ways to go before I need the pattern again. So yeah, those are the two projects I've been working on primarily. I did two more of my Zodiac mermaids this week. What did we do this week? We did I believe it was Libra and Scorpio, if I am remembering correctly. Um yes, indeed. It was Libra and Scorpio. And I am working on finally finishing Gemini. I've got a little bit more to do on them. Um, and so I can finally get back to putting those speed paints on YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and all that good stuff. Speaking of social media, I sat down and I worked some on a social media schedule of where I want to post, when's the best time to post, and how often is reasonable for me to post. And so I created the schedule. Now I just need to create the posts. That'll be this weekend's project. But everywhere I intend to post, I can schedule ahead. So I kind of work in bulk and kind of maximize my time. Ideally, we'll see how it goes. This is kind of one of those steps in self promotion. Is just I have to put myself out there, and you have to go where the readers are, or where your customers are, or where your fans would be, if they knew you to be a fan of. And so, yeah, I am working my way through that. Um, just kind of, one step after the other, I'll get there. I'll get there. Um, the other things I've been doing is, yes, I have been editing or doing the first pass edit for book 4. And I may have come up, pardon me, I may have come up with the title finally. It Something popped into my brain. Um, excuse me. Oh, something popped into my brain. I even wrote down the date. It was on the 15th, which would make that Wednesday. Yeah, I think. And it was Wednesday morning. I was barely awake, and I was like, oh, hey, what about this? Now, I'm not sold on it. I'm not going to tell you about it yet because those sorts of things go to my newsletter first. And I'm not due to sit on another newsletter for a couple of weeks. So I don't know if I'm going to sit on it until then, or if I'll send out another little mini newsletter or something in the meantime. But yes, so I have been working on the first pass edits. The first pass is essentially me making sure that the story makes sense as I remember it. Did I leave anything major out? Do some little tweaks as I see them, but also I'm checking to make sure, and that's what this was sticking out of here, is I'm keeping a separate piece of paper over here that I'm writing down what chapter happens when, or basically what day each chapter happens on, because I have a feeling. I know I was keeping track of things early on, but I think as I was kind of in that breakneck stretch to the end, that I kind of got a little off track with how many days there were between Christmas and New Year's because of the time that this book takes place happens around those dates. And I'm like, okay, no, it's going to end on New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. And so I need to make sure that the distance between, that I haven't accidentally added some days. So I am going through and reading through and kind of reminding myself of the bits and pieces and making notes or some things that need to be added on a second pass. Um, it'll probably take 2 or 3 passes before I'm happy with it, because I know this one needs tweaking. But I'm getting there. I'm getting there, and it feels good to be. It feels good to be where I am with this, knowing that this is finally moved out of the first draft stage. 'Cause that's the thing. A lot of people, a lot of writers think that the first draft needs to be pristine. It needs to be correct, and so they'll try and edit as they write, and that can be detrimental, because if you can spend 2 weeks working on a paragraph, but what about the rest of the book? And it's better to go ahead and write even a rough, crappy, horrible first draft than to try and edit as you go, because you can't edit what isn't written. So while there are a lot of authors out there who believe in clean edit or clean first drafts, and I think that comes with practice, and just knowing your characters and your story inside and out. And so the more you write them, the more it will happen. And that goes for series. Standalone books, maybe not so much, but still, you want to have a clear vision, and whenever possible, and write straight through and have a really clean draft, then so that you know your edits go quicker. But at the same time, you can't spend so much time agonizing over the draft that you have nothing to show for it. You know what I mean? Hopefully, maybe some of that made sense. But there are things like a clean draft, for instance. I don't use that word, that. Um, I don't use that word. What word? That word. What word? Who's on first? Yeah. I don't use that as much when I'm writing my first drafts anymore, because that is a word that we use in speech a lot, but in writing it is superfluous many, many times, or there's a better word. The same thing with, there's other words that are like, oh, eliminate these from your manuscript. No, you can't always. Start, begin, end, whatever. Sometimes they belong, and then other times, yes, that can be rewritten, that can be rephrased. There might be a better word there. Of course, writing dialogue is different because you want dialogue to sound natural as opposed to, you know, necessarily grammatically correct, because not everybody speaks like Spock or Data. We were watching Star Trek, new new it's not New Horizons, it's new, or Strange New Worlds. Strange New Worlds. I was getting it confused with Animal Crossing apparently in my head. But yeah, not everybody speaks like letter perfect, grammatically perfect. I mean, if you're an English professor, maybe. Um, but even using contractions, or using incorrect phrases or split infinitives and things like that that get flagged in prose. And when it's dialogue, sometimes it's like, yeah, that's not how that person would say that, though. So you might adjust it. But yeah, I don't use that as much anymore. I am careful about other words. I catch myself if I write, he sat down, because that's redundant. You can only sit down. You can't really sit up. Well, I mean, okay, you can straighten. But sitting in general means you are lowering yourself to a seated position. So sit down is one of those, redundancies that, editors like to weed out. And so, they are things that you learn over time that you're not going to do as much. Or you may have decided that, nope, that's a stylistic thing. We're going to keep it for whatever reason. Maybe sit down isn't the best, or stand up. Well, there is the phrase stand down, but that's more of a command in a military sense. Most people aren't going to be doing it. I know I keep trying to come up with, well, you wouldn't do this, but I'm like, oh, that is a phrase for something. Basically, there's an exception for every rule. And I keep walking straight into them. Welcome to my life. Um, but anyway, so yeah, I've been editing, I've been social media planning, I've been knitting and crocheting. Um, that being said, there was one night, not last night, but the night before. It was so hot, so humid, so sticky, and just uncomfortable. I I was just incredibly uncomfortable. And, even in my office, I've got the ceiling fan on high. I have my sofa right underneath it, so I can just kind of like be there, and it helps, but it only helps so much. And even though we have upstairs and downstairs AC units, that's just how they were run. And apparently that's really common down here. I know several other people with the same thing. They don't have like a whole house unit. They're separated for one reason or another. The downstairs unit is bigger, and it's also older because we had to replace the upstairs unit a couple years ago. But when the downstairs isn't cool itself, and because they're not like completely closed off, there is some overlap. And so I feel like the not only because of the high temperatures and high humidity, the downstairs AC was having to work harder. Um, but it was fighting an uphill battle, I think, at times, literally. um you know Kind of going up the stairs kind of thing. So yeah, yeah, yeah. But anyway, Thursday night, it was just so disgustingly hot and humid and ugh, that I'm like, you know what, it's too hot to knit or crochet. It's too hot to do anything except for stay still and like move around as little as possible. So I ended up, and I was like, it's too hot even to edit, because if I'm editing, I'm at my desk, I'm, turning pages, I'm checking notes, I'm looking things up on the computer in case I needed to, to verify something. I'm doing all of these things, and it just requires, movement, and, so I pretty much laid under the fan and read. I read a short story. Well, not well, a short book, maybe a novella. I wouldn't call it a short story. I'd probably call it more of a novella. But anyway, um, neither here nor there. But I just laid there and I read, and it was probably one of the best things I could do, because again, sleeping downstairs, not sleeping as well. I like my little sofa. It's very cute, and it is comfortable for napping and so forth. But sleeping at night in here, I mean, I could have gone in the living room, but the living room sofas are, it's like, well, but then it's hotter in there. Again, I have the benefit of being right under my ceiling fan. And that makes a difference. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I'm in here, it's fine. But yeah. And sorry, brain had to catch up for a second, or slow down, or get back to where it was going, refine the track for the hamster wheel. Um what I'm getting at is that brilliance is stillness sometimes. Sometimes. Brilliance is not always nose to the grindstone, working yourself to the bone, burning the candle at both ends. I throw in some more cliches for you. Here, have a bucket full. Um, no, brilliance sometimes means recognizing when you're going to do more harm than good by continuing to push and continue, or even pacing and waiting agitatedly, because agitatedly, I don't know if that's a real word. Maybe we just made it up. I don't know. In an agitated state. Correct adverb, I guess. Anyway. Um, no, I because stillness is waiting, it's pausing, it's giving yourself a break, it's giving yourself a rest, it's being still, right? That's kind of what it is. But you can wait and not be still. You can wait, you can pause, you can put something aside. One of my coworkers, when she puts a project to the side for a little while, she's like, I'm putting that one in timeout. Not it's not pleasing me, or there's something wrong and I'm going to have to fix something. It's like, no, that one's just going into timeout. I'm going to work on a project that makes me happy. So yeah, you can take a timeout from one thing and be working on another. You can also feel the pressure of having to constantly be productive. There's that whole thing, laziness, oh, I feel too lazy if I'm not doing XYZ at any given time. Notice how, like, but see, there's this thing about lazy. There's this conversation that's happening around lazy lately. And it is that laziness doesn't necessarily exist. So say some pundits, some people who know more than me on the subject. Laziness is derogatory. You know, yeah, you can say, oh, I'm just going to laze in the sunshine. Fine. But when you call someone lazy, or you call yourself lazy, it's usually in the context of, I'm shirking this, or I should be doing something else. 9 times out of 10, we'll say. Meanwhile, if you engage in leisure pursuits, that's a completely different thing. But funny, they look the same way. I am taking a leisurely nap, or I'm using my leisure time because in some echelons of society, in socioeconomic class, even a racial divide. One person's laziness is another person's leisure time. Take time off. Yeah, do it for yourself. Self-care. But it ha why doesn't that apply to everybody? We think, well, yes, it is right that it applies to everyone, but does it? Does it really? So, stillness is not being lazy. Stillness is allowing yourself rest and respite from the pressures of the day. Because without those, we cannot possibly be at our best, at our most excellent, at our most brilliant the other times. So, this week, I say that brilliance is, I just lost the word. Oh my gosh, what just happened? My brain just completely went boop. It just kicked the word out of my brain. Stillness. Gosh. It was like silence. I'm like, no. Well, I mean, that's what was up there, but no, that's not the right word. Oh my goodness. I might need some stillness myself today. I don't know. I do have things to do, but I might need to give myself some stillness as well. And stillness doesn't necessarily mean doing nothing. Maybe stillness is observatory for you. Maybe stillness is meditation. We, some people, most people, I would say, meditate and they're still. Their body is stilled and they're trying to still their mind. I'm not really great at meditation. It kind of, it conflicts with um my usual mental activity, which is sort of a ping pong ball and stuck in a game of pong, but quicker. um sometimes not. But at the same time, stillness could be sitting still and watching a television program, or reading a book, listening to an audio book, watching clouds flow by in the sky. Now I have that snippet of a song from My Fair Lady going through my head, which I will refrain from breaking out into song because I don't want to have to go in and edit that. But yeah, that's in there now. But yeah, so stillness doesn't have to mean doing nothing. Stillness is just a rest. It is a break, and it is good. Again, all things in moderation, including moderation. So today, while I might give myself some time of stillness so that I can recharge and be ready to be even more brilliant the rest of the time when I'm in my more active phase, I do have some things to do, and I want to do them. And as opposed to other days when I didn't necessarily want to do that. And so I'll do both. They can take turns, and I will benefit from both. So thank you so much for watching. I'm going to wrap this up now. It has been a little bit longer than intended, but that's how these things go. Thank you so much for keeping up with me. For those of you who watch every week, thank you so much. If this is your first time seeing one of my videos, thanks for joining us. I am a writer and artist trying to figure out how to make that life work. I am fortunately supported by my husband in this, so I'm not completely depending on my own resources. But I did recently take a job at a local yarn shop, and so I work there part time to kind of help matters. And also, it kind of gives me my people interaction time, which, even though I am an introvert, I do still I'm a social creature. So yeah, I kind of need both. And I update every week. Yeah, every week. I was just thinking, I was like, do I take breaks on this? No, I don't. I update every week about what I'm doing creatively, what I'm doing to actively pursue my goals, and also on what I think the kind of, brilliance lesson is, because I decided last year was return to creativity. I returned I'm embraced fully. But now I'm taking that creativity and creating brilliance. And so I encourage everyone else who wants to do that as well. So remember always to take care of yourself first. And if you have the bandwidth, time, and inclination, take care of others as you are able. And never be afraid to show the world your brilliance. Until next time, bye bye.